This first poem is about a different kind of beverage than what's served over there. It's called Latte. Though I've never acquired its taste, I pray to coffee as others pray to God. Please grant me the strength to endure this 8-hour shift, to stay awake late enough to experience a night worth regretting. Please don't let me doze behind the wheel during the drive home lullaby, or nod off during conversation, though I've never acquired its bitter taste. So I can only swallow that hollowed caffeine diluted in cocoa or caramel. But I still believe. I know you're there, listening to my prayers beneath clouds of whipped cream, steamed milk, dogma, and hazelnut. Dark roast gospel translated from Irish cream into French vanilla. Sacred scones baptized in espresso, holy mochaccino, shrouded in sugar, foam faith blessed with cinnamon, amen. This poem is a true story, but it's not about any establishments around here. One of the cafes we used to do some readings at down in Phoenix, which is coincidentally closed now. It's called Sandwich Craft. The only way to convey how long I waited for this chicken salad sandwich to arrive at my table is to keep in mind that I ordered an egg salad sandwich. This next poem, I have to point out that one of my friends down in Phoenix, he's a musician artist named Doug Bale. He made this nifty Sasquatchatar t-shirt for me. And this is kind of how his brain works. And so he combines weird things. And one day he just combined these words on a Facebook post. And I couldn't stop thinking about them. And so I had to write an entire poem about it. And that's actually the one that was in that Thin Air magazine. So I'm going to read it right now. And so the title came from him. Blame him. It's called Kentucky Fried Chicken. Do you subconsciously desire a taste of your mother's thigh or breast meat? Would you like your soda ego or super ego sized? Original recipe transference. I bear resemblance to your dead father. So you are only ordering a vanilla milkshake because you think I want you to order a vanilla milkshake. Would you like a side order of cocaine? Potatoes are mashed and repressed with Rorschach splatters of gravy. I assume you meant coleslaw when you asked if the meal comes with cold sore. Porn on the cob was a similar slip of the tongue. 11 herbs and childhood traumas. You only demand to speak to my manager because of your hatred for your father. Greasy buckets of buffalo hot wings represent your flightless dreams, your inability to escape. I do want you to order a vanilla milkshake, so I can watch your puckered mouth struggle to suckle sips through the end of a straw, a tiny, inadequate straw. Here's something a little bit different. Here's a list poem You're not supposed to write those, but we do, right? This is called Things That Make Me Cry. You slicing onions in our new kitchen. In our old kitchen, slicing onions by myself. Aww. Don't worry, I'll read some other stuff later that you won't feel so sorry for me at all. Ever. I always ruin the sympathy. I was asked if there was a title poem for this book, and there isn't. But the Existentialist Cookbook, if there was anything like a title poem, it would probably be this one. And it is called The Existential Chef. The Existential Chef never grocery shops on an empty stomach, but always knows exactly what to cook for the diner who has already eaten nothing. Insists that every meal is only an appetizer for the next meal, because fleeting attempts to satiate hunger are futile, but preps the kitchen anyway. Washes his hands so they will be ready to get dirty. Wears an apron to protect his clothing from stains and another apron to protect the first. Understands that no colander can strain meaning from this life. The Existential Chef only uses 3 types of fruit. Fruit that is almost ripe, fruit that is ripe, and fruit that used to be ripe. Stares into the pot left upon a scalding stove just to prove nothing delays its water from boiling. Has learned that perfectly roasted lamb becomes tender enough to slice like butter. Olive oil drizzled over baked potatoes tastes like butter, and Gruyere cheese sprinkled over a heated skillet melts just like butter. But what remains most like butter is butter. Uses Malaise as a secret ingredient. Garnishes every plate with ennui. Only uses 2 types of vegetables. Vegetables that are rotten and vegetables that are not rotten yet. Cooks lunch knowing that by dinner time you will only be hungry again. The Existential Chef is uncertain which course got served first, the chicken cacciatore or the omelet. Scoffs at egg timers for only measuring the amount of nows between nows. Believes life should be sautéed directly over the flame with fresh herbs and lemon zest, while death simmers on low toward the back of the stove. Allows yesterday to marinate in sweet and sour memories, prefers today peeled and eaten raw, but owns no Tupperware for preserving leftovers, because tomorrow should never be taken for granted. I don't do a whole lot of poetry slams, but one of the ones that I do like to do when they'd come down, years ago, someone from Flagstaff came down to host a haiku deathmatch poetry slam. His name was John Coffinow, and those were a lot of fun. I got my ass kicked that first tournament, but I liked them anyway, and so we would come back and do these sometimes. And I've won a few of these tournaments here and there, but here's like a few of the kind of haiku that we would do. Happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas, except that syphilitic rash. Failed intervention. Mom addicted to Botox, raises no eyebrows. Bad babysitter, outside the lines with 50 shades of Crayola. Here's one on the relative nature of permanence. Got married, had kids, but she's stuck with that awful tattoo forever. Harry Potter's scar, inflicted in utero. Coat hanger scratches. Oops. All right, I can't end on that one. Here's one for the kids. JKLOL, OMG LMAO, WTF. Let's see. All right, let's. Here's one called Malvel. With his kindergarten haircut and conspicuous plastic eyeglasses obscuring the geometry of his cheekbones through non-prescription lenses, Clark Kent is a super hipster. Grew up in Kansas, but he was born someplace else. You've probably never been there. He liked the design on his chest before it became the letter S. Back when it was just symbolic. Faster than an Instagram upload, more powerful than a Thursday afternoon hangover, able to leap to conclusions in a single snark, but downplays all abilities and superpowers so you can't tell if he's underachieving. Uses supersonic hearing to listen to unsigned garage bands pitchforks never heard of. X-ray vision framed by plastic non-prescription eyeglasses. The man of irony has a weakness for radiant minerals and a fetish for capes. Thinks Green Lantern sold out. Doesn't rely on fossil fuels. His mode of transportation leaves no carbon footprint. Built his fortress of solitude completely off-grid. Still romanticizes newsprint. Prefers steampunk technology. The man of iron alloy. Ignores your Skype and text message pleas for help. Unless he stumbles upon a vintage phone booth. Speaking of some hipster shit, there are a handful of Phoenix bands that I've seen over 20 times in my life. And this is for one of my favorites. It's in memory of Mark Erickson. Colors stored for never. You heard the city ignore you. Deadlocked procession of yawns. I try to ignore, missing you in the hush of fireworks. A thimble of dreams. Crumpled origami of birthday photographs. Don't exhale, wind quarantined in tires. I'm going to miss ignoring you, your mercury music leaking from the car stereo. I wish my drive to work was farther. I wish nostalgia wasn't wasted on the mature. Don't miss the exit. Don't pass out in the back seat. Be my cross-country road trip, my flickering halogen bulb, not the cotton-tongued moth plastered against the windshield. Let's see, if I'm doing kind of okay on time here, so I'm going to read a few of the poems that aren't in this book, just to take a break. So trying to put the next collection together. Here's a few of those. This first one is, when asked what kind of cult I grew up in, it was the kind of cult secluded in the woods, isolated from neighbors and sin. The kind of cult that believes Saturday is the new Sunday and it should start on Friday night. The kind of cult that believes death is a sleep where you dream of nothing, but the wicked get a snooze button for an extra millennium. The kind of cult that believes Jesus will return on October 22nd 1844, the kind of cult that could be wrong. The kind of cult that spawned extremist offshoot cults of vegetarians, Branch Davidians, and breakfast cereals. The kind of cult that needed my mother to sew handmade extensions onto the bottoms of felt dresses worn by little felt women on the felt pages of my activity book, so I wouldn't be seduced by impure desires. But I had already found salvation in the flesh of real ankles attached to the legs of real women, legs that could be felt all the way up to heaven. So see, there's a little bit of blood in these poems. This is called rock phlebotomy. This year's mosquito finds the skin beneath cotton, bites through corduroy. This year's mosquito has evolved to penetrate denim. But this year's mosquito doesn't know that I got a new tattoo within the past 12 months, that I've been having unprotected sex, that I vacationed in the Falkland Islands in 1993, and my veins are conduits for hypertension. This year's mosquito doesn't know that he is now blood brothers with every bedbug with whom I've ever shared a motel. Here's another true story. Most of them are true to some degree, but if you say that every once in a while, it throws everyone off. Then they wonder, like, what about that last poem? This is called Comfort Food on Two Tongues. His father must have been proud when Salvador published his first novel, erasing any doubts that might still linger above his head about uprooting his family from the soil where they were sown so many seasons before harvest. But he must have been surprised to open the first page and find the book dedicated to Salvador's potato. Blame their native language for leaving the only delineation between words like father and potato hinged upon a single slant of an accent lingering above the second A of papa. Fortunately, I write in English, where accents are unnecessary. There are no English words that require an accent. For I don't miss them. I don't wonder if they wonder about me. I don't care if they remember my birthdays. Fortunately, I write in English, where the differences are more pronounced, where the difference between father and potato is that I know potatoes. I grew up with potatoes. My childhood was filled with bountiful memories of potatoes. So before I read this last little trio of poems, I just want to say thanks again to Jesse and Uptown Pubhouse for having this. You're lucky to have like one of the coolest venues for stuff like this to go on. So these last few poems, one of the great things about getting to read from this book for people is that you get to like show them how some of the poems are supposed to sound. And there's this section in here that I refer to them as like costume poems. There was a Halloween time reading that I did, and I had decided to surprise everyone. I like kind of went trick-or-treating as other poets. So I tried to write the kind of poems that they would kind of write about, and then I tried to deliver them in the way that they would deliver them, and they were sitting right in the audience, so it was really awkward and uncomfortable and awesome. So even if you don't really know some of these poets, at least you can hopefully appreciate, the distinct voices that they did. This is probably a good writing exercise. The poets that you know very well. It was the only poets that I loved, by the way. I wouldn't try to just like make fun of some poets that I didn't like. These are all poets that are very important to me down there. Let's see. The first one, here's Love in the Time of Hand Sanitizer, or Poem Yet to be Written by Rosemary Dombrowski. rubbing my palms together in scalding water below the same faucet where you used to rub yours reminds me of years of your bacteria waltzing around the same drain's porcelain dance floor as my own bacteria. A tango of germs, our pathogens cohabiting in ways we never could. Centripetal swirl of microbes, too minuscule for the wandering eye unless viewed through the refraction of a lens. Magnified and examined, our sterile relationship left in the petri dish, never mutated into a contagion, infectious as love. This next one is called 8-Proof Path to Enlightenment, or Poem Yet to be Written by Dogo Berry Graham. Bringing light to a dark corner of the bar, the Buddha sits patiently, waiting for the waitress to bring another pitcher of beer. All around him, patrons are drinking to their health, to their sorrows, drinking to their worldly attachments, exchanging miseries and failures they can only express when intoxicated. But the Buddha is aware that he is already drunk. He has always been drunk and doesn't need any alcohol to prove it. And this last one is called Poem Yet to be Written by Bill Campana. After opening a package of ramen, I realized that I didn't have 3 extra minutes. So I ate that petrified brick of noodles, dry and crunchy and beige. Then I drank a glass of boiling water, burned my esophagus like a fuse before sprinkling the mysterious contents of the seasoning packet onto a coffee table mirror. Chopped those granules into parallel lines with a maxed out credit card and snorted that MSG dust through a rolled up food stamp. Then I did some jumping jacks. Thank you.